magnificent, mighty, regal. Since ancient times, the very sight of a pipe organ has evoked images of power and drama. Its music, haunting and forceful, stirs the emotions with a swelling of sound unlike any other. This is the story of one such instrument, commissioned for the Calgary Centre for the Performing Arts. The Calgary concert organ, Casavant's Opus 3623, is a new instrument with a heritage that predates modern history. Called the King of Instruments, the pipe organ is the largest of all musical instruments, commanding the widest pitch and dynamic range, and the only one capable of producing sustained sound. Descended from the prehistoric panpipes, the organ's earliest appearance can be traced to classical antiquity, some 200 years before the birth of Christ. By the 2nd century AD, organs such as this preserved piece were heard at Roman circuses and pagan festivals. By the Middle Ages, portable organs were considered a necessity in castles and country homes. It was the Benedictine order of monks who raised the pipe organ to a new level, that of church instrument. The great cathedrals of Europe provided a majestic setting for the King of Instruments. During the Renaissance, great strides were made in the evolution of the pipe organ, and again in the 17th and 18th centuries, when all of northern Germany was producing great organ builders and composers. In fact, each country was known for its individual methods of organ building. In their quest for ever more power and brilliance of sound, organ builders across the ages have added unique characteristics to the pipe organ, developing and shaping the instrument we know today. From medieval times, the pipe organ's rich and powerful voice has accompanied worship and celebration. It is part of small private weddings and the most celebrated royal events, such as the wedding of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. We're used to seeing pipe organs in church, yet the organ has not always been welcome there. In the 13th century, Thomas Aquinas objected to the organ, which he said served more to please the ear than lead to piety. Many of the clergy agreed with him. The Vatican's Sistine Chapel has never had an organ. Throughout history, organs have fallen out of favor with the church, and many were utterly destroyed in the violence of the Reformation. Yet no sooner were the organs destroyed than new ones were set up again, seeming to prove that music has a rightful place in religious worship. All Western music has its basis in the Gregorian chant of the Church. Certainly, the stately rhythms of sacred music inspired one of the foremost composers for the organ, Johann Sebastian Bach. Raised on the music of the Lutheran Church in the 17th century, Bach composed some 150 pieces for the organ, including his most well-known Toccata and Fugue in D minor. Bach's contemporary, George Frederick Handel, was a child prodigy who was also raised on the music of the church, and played on the chapel organ at the age of 9. Handel became one of the most accomplished organists of the early 18th century, best known for his organ concertos, played during the intermission of oratorios. Franz Liszt, the colorful and passionate genius of the 19th century, was as famous for his illicit romances as for his brilliant compositions. His compositions for the organ include prelude and fugue on Bach. These composers and hundreds of others lifted the organ up and away from church music and into the realm of worldly entertainment. During the 18th century, the growth of technology led to the development of a mechanized organ. This barrel organ, as it was called, performed with punched-out music rolls in the same manner as a player piano. In some country churches, in France and England, barrel organs were used in place of pipe organs. Another mechanized version of the organ was the beautifully decorated orchestrion, which was meant to reproduce all the sounds of a full orchestra. Although the quality of sound was never perfected, Beethoven did write a piece for the instrument called Wellington's Victory at Vittoria. In the early part of this century, the pipe organ acquired yet another role. The theater organ made its debut to accompany an exciting new form of entertainment, silent movies. Silent film star Mary Pickford is shown here with the organ at the United Artists Theater in Los Angeles, 1928. It was immensely popular entertainment, but when talkies came to the screen, it was the end of the theater organ. During the era of silent movies, the most advanced pipe organs were built in concert halls, not churches. The 1920s saw a rebirth of the concert organ in Europe and North America, where organ builders were attempting to revive some of the historical principles of organ design. In Canada, there are very few concert hall organs in existence, the largest being in the Roy Thomson Hall, Toronto. Opus 3623 at the Calgary Centre for the Performing Arts can now take its place among the foremost concert organs in North America.
Well, I think this particular instrument is unique in North America because we have so very few concert halls. And this is, I think, the second real, primarily concert hall to be built in Canada. And so in the European tradition, we've decided to equip it with a first-class pipe organ, which you'll find in most of the main concert halls in Europe.
It should be capable of doing absolutely everything, from the Baroque, classical, romantic, contemporary organ literature. There should be nothing that it can't do very, very well.
Despite its history, the image of the organ as a sacred instrument, or only for highbrow entertainment, persists in the public mind. Jean-Louis Coignet, Casavant's tonal director from Paris, is quick to dispel this notion.
And most people, when you say, well, we are going to an organ recital, they say, oh, it's a very boring music, it's just church. So I think it's a complete misunderstanding. Organ music can be extremely exciting. You can play jazz on this organ. And the power you can develop from an organ is quite unique. No musical instrument can produce the same volume and richness of sound.
For those without any knowledge of either music or organ, a little basic instruction opens the eyes and ears to a new world of sound. One of Canada's leading organists, Ian Sadler, demonstrates.
There are 4 basic sounds to the organ. The one that is intrinsic to it is the sound of the principals. The next sound is that of the flute stop. And the third sound is that of the string stops. And the fourth sound is that of the reed stops of the organ, the stops that imitate the brass instruments of the orchestra. And when we put all those sounds together,
the creation of such sound begins here at Casavant Frères of Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec, the oldest organ builder in North America. Established in 1834 by Joseph Casavant and continued by his sons, the business has gained an international reputation for excellence. Casavant's creations include Calgary's Opus 3623, as well as large installations in Japan, Australia, and throughout North America.
Each pipe organ is really designed for one location. We do not have two pipe organs done the same. We cannot say that two pipe organs will sound the same. Two pipe organs done by the same company will have similar sound in some respect, but because in each place, in each church or each recital hall, we have different acoustic, we will have different sound. The pipe will react in a different manner and will give really a different sound. Each organ is really special because it is done for the need of the place where it will be installed. First, our tonal director, Jean-Louis Coignet, came here. He studied the hall, he listened to the acoustic, and he chose the size of the pipe, how large will be each pipe, in order to permit to create the sound we hope in this hall. So if we look at the pipe work we just see in front of the organ, each pipe is scaled according to this hall to give the right sound. And there are in the organ 6,008 pipes that are scaled by Jean-Louis Coignet.
The pipe organ begins life as an idea, a design on paper. Each organ that is built is unique to its environment, whether that be a cathedral or a concert hall. After much consultation and planning, the design is drafted to fit the room's acoustic requirements, and the craftsmen go to work. Unlike many builders, Casavant builds most of the organ from scratch on the premises, starting with the raw wood and metals. This ensures complete control of the final product. With the exception of blowers, magnets, and a few small bits of hardware, none of the parts are imported. Even the metal pipes are cast in the basement of the building. The consistency of the metal is crucial to the final sound of the pipe. Therefore, great care is taken to heat the tin-lead alloy to a precise temperature. Then it is poured into sheets to cool. As it solidifies, the metal reticulates, creating this unusual texture. The cooled metal is then milled to a specified thickness. After milling, the metal is laid out and cut like a suit of clothes. Each part of the pipe is stamped and marked for later assembly. The body of the pipe begins to take shape as it is rolled by hand. Upon completion of shaping, the pipe is soldered. The cone-shaped foot is prepared in a similar fashion. The pipe takes on nearly human characteristics as the tongue-shaped languid is installed. The body and the foot are joined to form a single unit, through which pressurized air will flow. And the mouth, the opening above the foot, which will help produce the sound, is carefully cut to design specifications. Ears are then soldered at the sides to help direct the wind flow. Once the pipe has been shaped and the various parts attached, the length of the pipe is cleaned and polished, and in some cases a lacquer finish is applied. The other material used to make pipes is wood. At Casavant, the wooden pipes are handcrafted directly from the rough-hewn lumber. Like the metal pipe, this wooden pipe has a languid and a mouth which shapes the sound. The exterior of the pipe is finished. Then this too is ready for voicing. In any organ, the pipes are mounted on wind chests that are made to exacting detail, as specified by the designer and draftsman. The wooden chests, crafted of American yellow poplar, are of various sizes, depending on the number of pipes called for in the design. These chests are basically boxes which store pressurized air until that air is released into the pipes. Air is supplied to the chest by means of a blower and is transported by a series of galvanized pipes. Very much like the human circulatory system, these pipes flow to all parts of the organ, supplying pressurized air. Once in the chest, air meets metal and wood to create the unique sound of the pipe organ. The Performing Arts Centre in Calgary was built with the pipe organ in mind at a future date. The funds that were needed, over $750,000, were donated anonymously to Calgary's great fortune. Not all concert halls have organs, but the presence of Opus 3623 enriches the quality of musical life for the city and opens the door to a more exciting variety of programs. Times have changed since the organ at Westminster Abbey was built in 1660 at a cost of £120. The newest developments in solid-state technology are used in organ building today. Here's an example of high-tech advancements: a pencil-thin coaxial line similar to a cable television hookup. This is all that connects the console to the organ. Thanks to the freedom of solid-state technology, the console, the heart of the organ, can be placed anywhere in the hall. The console contains the keyboards, the stop controls, and the pedal board, all built separately. The keyboards, which look like harpsichord keyboards but operate differently, are made by hand at the Casavant factory, exclusively out of nature's materials. The keys are made of basswood. The naturals are covered with ebony. The sharps are overlaid with ivory. This is a direct contrast to a piano keyboard, in which the naturals are white and the sharps are black. On an organ keyboard, the keys control each note, but the organist must also control the air flowing into the chests by means of draw stops. The draw stops will activate each stop, which has 61 or more pipes connected to the related notes on the keyboard. These draw stops are engraved with the name and pitch of each stop. Then they are installed on either side of the keyboards. Next, the pedal board is constructed. Simply another keyboard, only played by the feet. Of the 32 pedals, the naturals are crafted out of maple and the sharps from rosewood. Above the pedal board are the expression and crescendo pedals, used to control the volume by opening or closing shutters on the expression boxes. Everything is tested to see if the actions are working perfectly. Finally, the casing is put on and finished to match the surrounding woodwork. We are so used to the idea of replacing things when they get old, it is astonishing to think of anything built today that will last for a lifetime or more. This organ in Saint-Hyacinthe Cathedral, Quebec, is one of the oldest pipe organs in Canada, built by Casavant in 1885. It is still played regularly and has an excellent sound. For a well-made organ such as Opus 3623, that length of time is not unusual.
Right now at the factory, we receive requests to restore organs that were built by our company in 1900, 1910, 1920. And it's rare that we have to restore organ built in the 30s. It is just starting right now. So we are expecting that it will last at least for 60 years and even longer.
It is an enduring instrument that draws a special kind of musician to play it. Perhaps it is the commanding size of the organ, its rarity among other instruments, or the power of its voice that attracts students to the organ. Many organists seem to share an early and grand impression of the pipe organ being played in church.
Well, I was first attracted to the instrument when I was a choir boy at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, England, and the thrill of hearing the mighty organ as I sang in services there thrilled me tremendously when I was young, and since then it's been my one desire to master the instrument and play it myself.
I started off in the piano, as I think most organists do. And while I was studying the piano as my main instrument, the organ was something that I always had fun with. And first few years I used to sneak into the church and would be thrown out for not getting permission to play the organ. And then after a while, they gave me a key, and I've been playing the organ ever since.
Mastering the organ is an undertaking that calls for more than time, patience, and a good memory. It's physical activity, virtually the decathlon of music, demanding strength and total body coordination.
I think maybe just before you do the ones with the six, just lift a little sooner so that you have lots of time to prepare for that. Don't lean on that downbeat too long there. Just try it. Oh, wherever you can start. Beginning of the line.
John Tuttle, who teaches organ, in addition to his duties as organist to the University of Toronto and St. Paul's Church, emphasizes the importance of physical coordination.
As a teacher, I watch coordination very carefully amongst my students, and I see the problems that develop very often are common difficulties with left-handed pedals, especially for folks that came to the organ from the piano, where we're used to using the left hand for the bass. All of a sudden, we're having to play the bass with our feet, and that's normally where the bass line of an organ piece would be performed, on the feet.
Well, I suppose it's, in some regards, it's not as difficult as the piano as far as the hands are concerned.
Because
You don't have to control every note as you would on a piano. The sound is always going to be the same, depending on what stops you have on. But at the same time, you then have to coordinate your feet, playing different notes, both of them, and at the same time be able to pull out stops on either side of the organ, and if you have a piece of music in front of you, turning pages at the same time. So it takes a fair amount of coordination.
Because the pipe organ is an uncommon instrument and not easily accessible, its students are few. Children do not encounter the pipe organ in school, as they do clarinets and trumpets, and it cannot be carried home for practice. It's not even a visible part of most orchestras. Yet some students are still drawn to the idea, as Ian Sadler says, of making the mighty organ speak. Opus 3623 was made possible by a private donation, a magnificent gift to the Calgary Centre for the Performing Arts. The support of this anonymous donor was said to place the jewel in the crown of Canada's newest concert hall. One of the people behind the scenes who helped speed the acquisition of the organ was the chairman of the Centre's Special Projects Committee and a master at the art of getting things done, Vera Swanson.
Well, no concert hall, and it is worth its salt, of this caliber that doesn't have a substantial organ in it. In Europe, all the big concert halls and the concert halls of any consequence have a very fine organ. My intention always, working with the rest of the group on the Performing Arts Centre building and conceiving it, was that if we're not going to do it properly, we shouldn't do it at all. And I personally always felt that Calgary was known all over the world for its stampede, and I would like it to be known for some cultural things as well as cowboys and Indians. I think we're very fortunate too, because I don't think there's another organ in a concert hall in Canada that will compare to ours, including Thompson Hall.
Months have elapsed since the signing of the contract with Casavant late in the year 1985. Like any work of art, the pipe organ cannot be rushed into completion. every stage of construction, each painstaking detail, requires the highest degree of craftsmanship. And all along the way, the builder works closely with the client, ensuring that the final product will meet with approval.
We eliminated all plastic from the console. The keys, which we make ourselves, are ebony. The naturals are ebony. Well, let's hear what it sounds like. Let me just put the full organ on and see what happens. Hold your hats.
Possibly the most exciting moment before the organ arrives in Calgary is seeing it completely assembled in the factory. Like an exclusive handmade European car, all together and in working order, Opus 3623 is ready for its first test drive. Although here the organ is far from being perfectly tuned, Calgary Philharmonic General Manager John Shaw can see and hear the instrument being put through its paces.
In this small room, that's kind of deafening.
Oh, it really is, yes.
Once the builder is satisfied that all the working parts are in order, the organ is dismantled, the pieces identified and properly crated, and shipped cross-country to their new home, the Jack Singer Concert Hall in Calgary. Here, the individual pipes, chests, and other pieces are brought in and carefully unwrapped. Just as the packing was done by Casavant people, the unpacking is supervised by several members of the firm. The valuable cargo, which has traveled all the way from Quebec to Alberta, arrives in good condition. Each piece has been custom made and would not be easily replaced or repaired. As each part of the massive instrument is unwrapped, it is set out in the hall to await the final assembly. This is a fairly large project and will take 4 weeks to install in the Performing Arts Center. Some 6,000 pipes, laid out in precise order in the hall, are hoisted by hand into their location above the stage. Like a giant jigsaw puzzle, every one of the pipes, from the smallest to the largest, fits into a specific place within the ranks. Each pipe will add its own distinct voice to the sound of the whole. Some produce the very lowest notes in the register. Others are pitched so high the sound is almost beyond our ability to hear. All the pipes have a place and are eventually fitted into their proper location.
That's it. Ça, c'est le hot dièse. Hot dièse.
Final adjustments are made to the keyboard and console. Then the instrument is ready for the tonal finishers. Relying upon a keen sense of hearing, the tonal finishers will bring life and voice to the Calgary instrument, just as their colleagues of the past century breathed life into the pipe organ at Cathedral Saint-Jean-Baptiste, one of the oldest Casavant organs in the country. The techniques of tuning and voicing have changed little, and the standard of quality not at all.
C'est assez fort?
Il était un peu faible encore.
Although the pipe organ cannot replace other instruments, it is capable of imitating various sounds of an orchestra: flute and French horn, oboe and clarinet, trumpet, bassoon and strings. And one of the most fascinating aspects of the organ is that you can play a note as long or as short as you like. There is no fading away of sound as with other instruments, which are limited to the vibration of a string or the breath of a player. This unique quality of sustained sound, along with the multiple voices of the organ, create an overwhelming impression that involves the listener fully. It's as if the whole room becomes the resonating chamber of a cello or viola, bringing the audience inside the sound rather than outside it. The sound of the pipe is first heard here at the Casavant factory, where all the pipes are pre-voiced before shipping. The precise work is left until after the organ is installed in the hall. The voicing of the flue pipes begins with the mouth, which is cut to the correct height according to the wind pressure and scale of the pipe. Next, the position of the languid is adjusted, and if the pipe has ears, they can also be adjusted by a slight bending. Reed pipes, which produce the sounds of the oboe, clarinet, and other reed instruments, are voiced and tuned quite differently. Instead of a languid, the reed pipe has a thin, curved strip of brass which vibrates when air is forced past it. This brass reed is manually shaped to the desired curve. The resonator is cut to the proper length, and finally, the tuning wire at the foot of the pipe is adjusted for correct pitch. Because of its material, a wood pipe is much less flexible to voice after it has been built. The design, with its fixed languid, dictates the finished color and sound of the pipe. The stopper at the top of the pipe can be coaxed up or down the body until the correct pitch is achieved. All the processes we've seen here in the factory are repeated to a finer degree in the Jack Singer Concert Hall. The acoustic qualities of the room will give Opus 3623 its one-of-a-kind sound. During the quiet hours before dawn, for weeks on end, the pipe organ goes through the final steps before her grand debut. It is between midnight and 8 a.m., when the hall is deserted and the city is at rest, that the tonal finishers must work at the task of voicing all 6,008 pipes to perfection.
A tonal finisher is the man who will work on each pipe, who will work on the lips, the toe, will cut parts of the pipe, and will make the pipe give the right sound it must give in such an organ and such a building.
Theirs is repetitive, painstaking work, requiring a sensitive ear and absolute concentration. Working as a team, one man sits at the console, playing the keys that sound the individual pipes, as his partner trims and adjusts the pipes one at a time. When one pipe has been perfectly voiced, they move to the next pipe. Some nights they will work quickly and tune many pipes. Another night, perhaps only a few of the largest ones. This meticulous work takes 10 to 11 weeks on an organ the size of Opus 3623, and their patient work will be rewarded when all the pipes speak in concert. Because there are so few concert organs in North America, orchestras occasionally make use of the pipe organs in churches. Montreal's Notre Dame Cathedral, which has one of the largest instruments in Canada, has hosted orchestras like the Montreal Symphony for concert performances. In Calgary, orchestras will no longer have to move to the organ has come to the orchestra, opening up a whole new musical repertoire. The conductor of the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra, Maestro Mario Bernardi, is delighted with the prospects offered by Canada's newest pipe organ.
We're finding out that there are, in fact, some fantastic organists in the world today, and we hope to entice them to come here. And it's a new dimension, really, for the orchestra. That's all it means. The organ is not really a usual instrument. It's rather an exception with an orchestra.
This new and exceptional dimension for the orchestra will prove to be a new experience for the public as well. The pipe organ is now the breathtaking showpiece of the Jack Singer Concert Hall, visually commanding attention from all points of the room. It cannot help but be the central focus when the first ringing notes are played for the audience.
I think perhaps when they hear an organ played well and in a wonderful building, it can strike right to the core. And also I think many of the major composers, Bach in particular, their very best composing was done for that instrument. And you know when you hear Bach played well on a good pipe organ that this must be close to heaven. You know, I mean, it's wonderful.
Europe's centuries of tradition in organ building and composing have bred some of the world's finest organists today. Foremost among these is the musician who has been invited to perform at the inaugural debut of Opus 3623. Simon Preston, organist to Westminster Abbey, regarded the invitation as an exciting new challenge.
It's a new horizon in the sense that it's a new organ in a concert hall, which is always an event, and a good event at that. And so I was very happy to be asked to do this, simply because it's an enjoyable thing to play in a concert hall in front of a live audience, rather than in a church, you know, where everyone sort of feels rather hushed and holy. The thing I like about this organ is it's loud, and every organ must be loud at some stage or other. That's not to say it must be loud all the time, obviously, like nice quiet bits as well. But so often in concert halls, the organ is too soft, you know, you can't hear it against the orchestra. Nothing can be worse than a feeble organ. I always think it must be loud, and this organ is wonderfully loud, as far as I can tell. It would, I think, hit everybody in the back stalls as well as in the front stalls, so it's good. I played Casavant organs recently, and this one is really, you know, one of the best they've ever done, I think.
This pipe organ now belongs to the people of Calgary, but the pride of ownership belongs in part to the workers of Casavant, who built the organ by hand. Generations of skill and devotion to an ancient craft have gone into this extraordinary project. Some of these people have worked as many as 45 years at the firm, handing down their knowledge to a handful of newcomers who will in turn pass it on.
The level of dedication is, I believe, really important. All employees working at Casavant are very proud of their work. Many of them are there after their father and even their grandfather has worked at the company. It is always they are proud of the work they are doing. They are proud to work at Casavant, and they are proud of the result that is there. And they are proud to say what we have built at Casavant will last a long time. And even when it will be tired, it will be possible to rebuild it and to have it work again in a first-class order.
The first of many performances and the beginning of a new musical tradition for Calgary, the inaugural debut of Opus 3623. It is a splendid moment, the culmination of many months of planning and exacting work. Opus 3623, the center's pride and Calgary's treasure, is a tribute to the men and women of Casavant Frères, for whom it was a labor of love.